any worse than 4-4.
And especially if you're right in regard to when McCaffrey returns, if you're 5-3 and you got that nugget to look forward to, Steiny, when you hit the field after the bye week with his services, I mean, that's when you just take off.
Yeah, that's what the hope is. And then maybe you get McCaffrey back week 9 or 10. You get Greenlaw back 10 or 11 or 12. And then maybe you have 4 or 5 games, a month or so to get your act together and make a run. The San Francisco 49ers are 3-3. That's the bad news. Here's the good news. The division stinks. The division's terrible.
Well, why do you have 2 losses, though?
Well, because you let 2 games get away with them, get away from you. And you yourself said they should be 5-1.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay. Well, if they should be 5-1.
And you face those 2 teams again.
Exactly.
Assuming wins.
Exactly. Maybe you use the second half of the season to win a couple games that maybe you shouldn't win, and you make up for it. But right now, how are you feeling about the 49ers at 3-3? 888-957-9570 is the number. It's pretty simple. You've got the Chiefs and the Cowboys. You've got a bye. Then you've got the Bucs. You've got Buffalo. And my question is this team ready to get moving right now? Does it feel like that? I have to tell you, it does to me. It does to me. You build up a little momentum before McCaffrey gets back, and hopefully when he comes back, he hits the ground running. But the 49ers have been in this position before where they haven't gotten off to a great start, but they've managed to turn it around a lot of times in the past. And until I see differently, I still think this team's pretty good. I still think this team is going to win the division.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line.
And
that's what they have to do, is win the division, because they put themselves in a little hole in terms of getting the best record in the NFC. But you keep winning games, you close the gap, you'll see. You'll see if you can climb up the standings and start working on home field advantage.
Yeah, and if you guys allow me, watching football yesterday with no Niners on through 6 games, Steiny, right now I believe it's the NFC North. And when I bring up the NFC North, I bring up the Detroit Lions, who were phenomenal yesterday and had you up 24-7 in the playoff game. Green Bay had you. They took you 15 rounds, yet you won that game. And Minnesota beat you already. So right now, those are the only teams, and it's 3 of them, Steiny, that, I don't want to say scare me if I'm a Niner fan, that I'm watching to where, you know what, they're playing good ball right now, and all 3 of those teams are.
I feel like one of the things that was a theme, and I'd like to know how Niner fans feel about this, but it feels like we heard this from a lot of football commentators. I know you brought it up, and I do think there's something to it. And what it is without the preseason getting emphasized, that maybe a lot of teams came out and they used the first couple games as a way to kind of get into the season. But it does feel like right now, obviously, we are into it. It doesn't feel. I feel like week 6 officially means it's not early anymore.
Yeah, well, I like that.
We're over a third of the way through the season, and the Niners are 3-3. They've had some downs, they've had some ups, and I want to know if 49er fans feel like their team right now is ready to take on the Kansas City Chiefs and beat them and get on some kind of roll here. I get McCaffrey's not going to play. Greenlaw's still not around. But for the most part, offensively, outside McCaffrey, the team's been pretty healthy. And so can they get it going against the Kansas City Chiefs? Or will it be a case of the Chiefs get them again and it kind of sets the 49ers back a little bit?
And I'm thinking about, the Niners defense and their secondary and lack of pressure in those games where they lost, how Mahomes can manipulate them if they're not on their P's and Q's, Steiny. And I'm thinking about Mustafa, who exited Thursday after getting the interception, and Ward, who needs to play it just a tad bit better. Lenore's been balling, and I'm just wondering, man, can Mahomes manipulate the Niners D? Bosa just set a record for 14 pressures in a game? He did that Thursday. It's imperative that he does that this Sunday. But I got something I wanted to run by you and Evan and the listeners out here, Steiny, and you talk about incentive. So you take the last 2 times the Niners have played the Chiefs. Obviously, it's been in the Super Bowl, right? So Oh, they play one regular season game when McCaffrey first came to town, and Chiefs won that. But no matter what happens this Sunday, it won't be a Super Bowl victory. But is there something to be said if you're the Chiefs and you're a Niner player that you feel like the Rockets did when they went up against the great Warrior teams? Took them, 15 rounds, but they just couldn't get over the hump. Every other year their season was over because of what the Warriors represented. I feel like there's some of that with the Niners, who I believe were better than the Chiefs in 2 of the Super Bowls, but yet they didn't get it done. I know it's a regular season victory, Steiny, but I feel like mentally, if I played this regular season victory, if they could get it, could go a long way if you were to hook up with them again.
I wonder how Niner fans feel about that at 888-957-9570. Is this a very important psychological game for the San Francisco 49ers? I always hesitate to put too much weight onto a game like this because they may play again. And would week 7, which is what it'll be next week, impact what happens later on in the year? Is there a psychological component where you feel like the San Francisco 49ers, they've got to beat the Chiefs so that they know they can beat the Chiefs? Or is it a case of, you go out, you play this week. If you can't get it done, it means nothing if you have to play this team again in the Super Bowl. I don't know what the answer is. I guess on balance, obviously, you'd rather win this game. But how much of it is you want to win this game to prove you can beat the Chiefs, or how much of it is more tangible, and that is, let's get to 4-3, get some breathing room in the division, and then start our quest toward 10, 11 wins, something like that. How big is this Chiefs game psychologically if you're a San Francisco 49er fan?
I like that, and I'm going to go Ernie Banks, Sonny, because why can't it be both? Why can't it be, we want to get to 4-3, but the nugget and the dessert of what it means psychologically is we got that monkey off our back for now in regard to letting this team know we beat them. Now, that sound you played from Kansas City, I'm going to tell you I'm shocked. Why? And the reason I'm shocked is I appreciate the fandom from the Chiefs feeling like they have some type of ownage of the Niners to still kind of troll. Because they say, and you tell me if I'm wrong, a rivalry doesn't start until both teams win. And right now in this one, Steiny, the Niners have not beat the Chiefs. You know what I mean?
I know.
But I love the energy from there. They're letting you know we're coming out here and we're coming off a bye and we're undefeated. And Steiny and Guru are saying we haven't played our football. But Andy Reid against Kyle, I think Andy would want nothing more to keep this thing going to where I'm your daddy.
Yeah, I'm sure. 415, I feel like this win is more important to keep the momentum going. I think there's a lot of different aspects to this game on Sunday. And, let me ask you this. Yeah. Why would Trent Williams say it's just another game? Do you think he's trying to lessen the importance of this game so that if it's a loss, it doesn't mean your season's over. It just means now you got to regroup and get back to 500 and above again.
He's seen it all, and I got to tell you, just from a fan standpoint, Steiny, I kind of don't like it, but I think he's going Dr. Phil. Again, he's seen it all. Maybe he don't want his guys on both sides of the ball to be pressing, putting too much on themselves because of everything that we've talked about and the Super Bowl losses to the Chiefs. So maybe he's saying this is just another Sunday, another walk in the park. Do what you do. Don't try to go out yourself and do too much. But I got to be honest, Donnie, with what you just talked about, with what's at stake and how if you got a victory, we're 4-3. We got to buy in 2 weeks. We got Dallas coming up Sunday night. We could be 5-3. And we send a message to them MFers. Yeah, y'all done took 2 Super Bowls from us. But yeah, we got how you like it. That's why. Hey, and also, too, what you just said, you did create some momentum last Thursday. It's so funny that we only had one day to react to it. But that was a game that I was like, oh, my God, here we go. Could they blow this? The Niners won. And now if you put 2 together, then what's the goal? Put 3 together. You rest up. Then when you go for 4, McCaffrey appears. Who knows?
Well, if you put 2 together, to me, then you can look back and say, all right, we won a huge divisional game that, had you lost it, would have been trouble early in the season in terms of the record in the division. Would have been a real herder. All right, but you did that. To me now, if you go out and beat the Chiefs, it's as you would say, it's bigger than 4-3 to me at that point, because then you can say we went up to Seattle and took care of business. Then we came home and we beat the team that's gotten over on us twice in the Super Bowl. And I do feel like I feel like in a way I don't feel like the Niners are snake bit by the Kansas City Chiefs. I feel like they lost some games to them that they could have won, but they just didn't finish games, and that's been kind of a theme. But you go out and you beat the Chiefs this week, all of a sudden, I think the league now takes another look at the 49ers and says, you know what? They didn't look like the 49ers the first few weeks of the season, but look what they just did to Seattle, and look what they just did to Kansas City.
Yeah, and what did you say Friday? Real quick here, I think the theme of the show was, do the Niners get the benefit of the doubt? And they didn't need it coming in because everybody was telling them just how good they were. But I'll say this, Steiny, if coming into this season, you told me I could lose to the Cardinals, the lowly Cardinals, and that would signal to me we just weren't ready. But we can see what Arizona is. They're nothing. So that would almost come off as a fluke, as opposed to finally, slaying the tail of Kansas City. I would want to beat the Chiefs and lose to the Cardinals as opposed to beating the Cardinals and losing to the Chiefs, because then you're like, well, when are we going to ever beat this team if we're going to beat them?
888-957-9570 is the number. 49er fans, how big do you think this game is psychologically for the San Francisco 49ers? In a way, do they have to win this game against the Chiefs to show themselves that they can beat them? It is Week 7 after all, so it's not going to be the biggest game of the year, but it's the biggest game of the year so far.